Alright, welcome to another ZBrush tutorial. I'm Ron Hicks here, your ZBrush tutorial man, or person. And I'm going to show you how to make a spoon with ZBrush. And we're going to introduce Zspheres and a couple of other things. But to get started, let me show you the Zsphere. The Zsphere is used for a lot of the more organic modeling that goes on with ZBrush artists. And we're going to turn on the floor so we're oriented, and we're going to transform tool, and we're going to activate symmetry along the Z-axis here, and we're going to add some Z-Spheres. If you hold down the shift key, you get them the same size. And turn that around, we're going to go to the move tool, we're going to get them lined up. We're going to give them a link to this particular model. We're going to move it again. Kind of get it fairly long spoon there. And when I was making this earlier, as I was stepping through it, I'll turn on the MRGB channel and the Z add. We want to kind of work out our basic shape when we still have our Zspheres before we really get down to doing the polymesh part. So I am going to add I'm going to turn off the symmetry for a minute here. We're going to add another Zsphere. We're going to add one right about there. And so this is going to be the bend in our spoon. In this Zsphere here, we're going to make, that's going to be the bowl portion of the spoon. So we're going to scale this one up. We're going to blow it up a little bit there. Something we can work with. So now we've got kind of our basic shape. And it's covering the one where we want to add our bend. So we're going to move it out. And we're going to, I think a spoon kind of does like that. And then the handle is sort of like that. We're going to add one more Z-sphere here. To give us kind of a contour. I think a spoon kind of goes like that. Or it's kind of bent like that. Anyway, so we got kind of the working shape. And if you hold down the A key, you can get a little preview of what kind of mesh you're going to have later on when you build your poly mesh, and you can see your polys there. So what I want to do here, we kind of got a basic idea of how our spoon's going to look, and we're going to go down to this feature called the adaptive skin. We're going to kind of generate a low type of poly for our spoon, and I'm going to use that feature of the polygroups. When you have the low density in your mesh like this, it's easier to kind of work your way out from the low to the high mesh, and you want to get as many of your the features that you might want to sculpt later on. So we'll hold down the shift control. Oh, I think we've got that wrong there. We're going to go ahead and make an adaptive skin temporarily. And I don't know what's going on here. Looks like we're getting masking instead of anyway, I'm going to isolate that. That's going to be our spoon bowl. So we held down the shift control, we've got that, and we want to go to our polygroups, and we're going to say group visible. Turn it back on. Now we've got we're going to have our bowl. And for the rest of this, we're going to keep things like it is right now. We might use this additional mesh here. Oh, I don't know what's going on with Oh, we have to be in the draw mode. But we might use this little mesh here along the way. But for right now, we're going to leave it be. And we can still do some things at this point. So, I am going to do some, we're going to add some geometry. We're going to go ahead and make our poly mesh. So we make our poly mesh. We're going to work on this thing a little bit before we get too much of a high density mesh. I find it a little bit easier. But what I want to do here, we're going to start off by masking. We want to work on our bowl. We kind of want to gradually step into this thing. And I am going to blur that mask. And then I'm going to inverse it. So what I want to do is I want to go in to do some deformations here, because I want to flatten this bowl out. So we've got this isolated, and the reason I blurred the mesh is because it makes for a gradual transformation. So you'll see what I'm talking about here shortly. So we got the y-axis here, and we want to flatten along the y-axis, and we want to kind of get things flattened out. I'm going to kind of work along slowly on this thing. Let me step back with you for a minute. We want to isolate that polygroup momentarily, and we want to do the flattening then. At least this works out a little bit better. And I hit the wrong slider there. We just want to flatten. And we got it fairly flat there. Now we're going to reveal the rest. So you see there along there is a little bit of a we'll step back in. What we'll do is we'll blur that mesh a little bit more, because we want a much smoother transition. And we'll flatten again here along up and down the y-axis, and then we'll see come back and now, well, okay, when we add geometry, we're going to be able to straighten this out. But for the time being, I want to get the shape of this bowl up. I'm going to do a little bit of sculpting while we have a fairly low density mesh, and we're going to get the move tool going here, and we want to turn on the transformation for the move tool symmetrical with the x-axis. We want to get our brush size up a little bit. Now the move tool, it moves geometry. It's kind of hard to explain. I don't really understand it myself, but I know there's times when you want to move your mesh, and then there's times when you just want to sculpt your mesh with a standard brush. And so we're going to try to get a little more rounder shape there to work on later. So we've got we're still in a fairly low density mesh. So we're going to inverse our mask here. We're going to work on the handle a little bit, and we're going to do some flattening as before, and the mesh will, on the spoon bowl portion where we want a concavity, won't be influenced. So I think what I need to do here, we need to do this a little differently. We're going to temporarily turn off the masking. I'm going to try something here a little different. I'm going to clear that momentarily. We're going to do some transformations. Let's see if we can isolate our flattening portion. And we're going to get this, turn off this symmetry for a moment, momentarily. And we want to line this transformation tool up. And I think we need to rotate it a bit. So our flattening kind of goes along that axis there. So we're going to flatten here. Uh-oh. So we need to go back. We need to redo our mask. And we need to inverse it. And blur it. Now let's try the deformation. There we go. This is a little bit more of what I wanted. Can't get it to go along the bottom. This is going to work some kind of way. I think what I need to do is maybe move it down. No. Well, we're gonna finish out the portion of the sculpting here. I did this video earlier and my screen capture stuff wasn't working, so I'm doing this a second time. So anyway, we're going to just move along here a little bit at a time. And so I guess we're just going to have to do some sculpting here. We're going to go ahead and add some geometry. Maybe it will make this a little less painful. I'm going to divide it. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time because I've come a long ways here so far. And let's see what we need to do here. We need to go to our standard brush, and we want to lower the intensity a bit. I'll zoom in on this. We want to kind of get that straightened out. I'll lower the intensity just a little bit more. Because when you're sculpting, being gentle sometimes will save you a lot of headaches in the long way. So I'm going to leave that right there. So we've gotten pretty close here. And we want to flatten out this handle just a tad. Yep. And it's getting a little bit sideways on us there. Now it's moving up on me. Okay. And we're going to just lower the intensity down quite a bit. Now, do a little bit on the top. Gee whiz, what am I doing here? That's more like it. Now, I want to work on this a little bit. And we're coming along here. We'll just do it little by little. And I'm going to turn up the juice here a little bit. I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. One little feature I want to add in here. Oh, that's too much. Too much. I'm going to add a little feature in there. Just a little. We're going to take little bites at a time at this. I'm hitting the shift tool there. The shift key. That kind of shrinks things up. So, well, I'm going to go back and work on the bowl a little bit. We're going to isolate it. We're going to set our pivot point. And now we're going to do some work on getting some concavity in here with our standard brush. Going to get some in here. Turn off the polychrome. So now you can see exactly how much concavity I'm giving this thing. I'm going to work on the back side a little bit. Don't hold the Alt key. It raises the surface of geometry. And we're going to a little bit more in here. We're going to go back to that move tool again. We're going to try to shape this thing up. Doing our geometry along the x-axis. Not pull it out. Now it's starting to look like a spoon. So we're going to shift control, reveal the rest of our mesh, and we're going to make some more adjustments here. This is my second time doing this screen capture video. So anyway, we're going to add some more geometry because I just need more geometry to work with. I'm going to bring it on up to 4. So things are looking pretty smooth here. I think I've got a pretty doggone good spoon going here. And we're going to see if we can get this to move up a little bit. And that down. If we lower the intensity, we won't get so radical. But you know, a spoon, we're going to do a transformation here. I think we're trying to get our spoon rotated down a bit. Shucks. Just fighting here. Well, we're going to back up there for a minute. I'm going to leave that alone for a second. We're going to work on the concavity of the spoon once again. Oh my goodness. And of course we turn off symmetry. And we're just going to go with this because this is the second time I've done this, and I think I have got a fairly convincing spoon worked up for you guys, and maybe you can probably do a little better than I'm doing here. I just had some software issues, and I spent 30 minutes talking about how to make this spoon, and it didn't capture the video. So I'm just going to go work toward the finish here, and we're going to go ahead and add our material and a silver foil bright. Make a nice shiny spoon there. And as I did this video before, I'm going to add in that cereal bowl. Heck, I mean, we've gotten this far. Hopefully this video is recording. And I did the cereal bowl previously about a week ago. So that's the one where it only has the let me go ahead and save the spoon again. I saved it earlier. What did I? Okay, yeah. I'm going to call it spoon 2. We're going to replace that bad boy. So now we've got our spoon. And now we're in the subtools section. And we want to add the cereal bowl to the spoon. Or add it to that scene there. We're going to pop that cereal bowl in there. So you see the cereal bowl needs to be scaled up a little bit. So I got the cereal bowl as active in the subtool palette. And we're going to scale it. And as I mentioned before, when you use this transform tool, you kind of want to get it in the middle of the object you're working with. And that's pretty close to center. And you want to pull in a part here so when you scale it or move it or rotate it, it confines that, makes it proportional. That's what I want to say. So now we're going to scale it, and we hit this one here. We can scale on 3 axes. That's what we want to do. We want to make it nice and proportional, and we keep scaling it up and backing up here. Scale it up again, and scale it up some more, and well, we'll back down just a hair there. think we're pretty close. We're going to have to, don't do any more additional scaling. We're going to have to get our transformation tool back in position. And I think I've got a pretty close proportion there. Get it down a little bit. So now we're going to make the spoon active, and we're going to move it around a little bit, and we'll move it out and up, and like I say, when you're working with your object, you want to try to more or less align your transform bar in the proper position. I'm going to use a transparency feature, really handy there. And we're going to rotate our spoon back and forth a little bit. And we're going to move it some. We're going to get touching the bottom of the bowl there. And we need to move it so it's right on the edge. We're going to rotate a little bit more. We want to reposition our bar again. Heck. Hold down the shift key to lock it in. And we're going to reposition our transformation bar to get it more or less in the middle, what we're working with here. Now we're going to do some additional rotation and some additional movement, because we want our spoon to kind of be in the middle. Turn off the transparency, and there you go. We'll turn off the floor, and then we're going to go ahead and render this out and get a good view of it there. Maybe rotate it a little bit, fill the screen just a tad. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to render this out, and as always I like to turn on the soft Z and the soft RGB, and we're even going to throw a little depth cue in there. Put one depth cue point here and the other depth cue point here, and then we're going to hit our render button. And what the heck, we might as well do some BPR filters while we're in here, which is very similar to Photoshop. It's kind of a way you can do it ahead of a time. You can get an idea of what it looks like, what it will look like if you're going to additionally work on it in Photoshop. So we're going to go up and hit the best render button, and we got a little nice bowl there with a shiny spoon in it. And I'm going to wrap it up from here. So thanks for watching my 4th ZBrush tutorial on how to make a spoon. And be sure to stay tuned. We're going to come up with some more material, and we can do some more stuff with ZBrush. So that's it for now, and thanks for watching.